is November 18th, 2024, and more than 24 hours after it was reported across the media landscape that the Biden administration was drastically increasing tensions with Moscow by lifting their restrictions on Kiev's use of long-range missiles on Russian territory, seems as though no one from the Biden administration wants to speak out about it or to confirm anything. All of this as the G20 summit kicked off today in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, where, yes, Joe Biden was present, although he went from his smiling, jolly self that we saw when he was meeting with Trump last week back to his mumbling, incoherent self as he was giving opening remarks today. And I honestly did not even include a video clip of what he said because I could not understand half of what he was saying. Now, I did get the gist that he was calling on the world to stand by Ukraine, to take on Hamas as if Israel isn't openly committing genocide and the US isn't openly supporting it and more. So really same old, but we are going to get into all of the latest here on what we know so far, what has been confirmed, and what the Biden administration is saying, or more importantly, not saying. But first, just a quick note here that I do have a new episode of Sanctioned out. That is my exclusive series for paid subscribers. I have a new episode every week, and this week we are diving into the latest international reports admitting that Israel is committing a genocide against the Palestinians in Gaza and noting that they are ethnically cleansing the Gaza Strip. We also take a look at the timing of it all as we have the incoming Trump administration more zealous than ever. I know you're probably tired of hearing me talk about this new episode, but if you haven't checked it out yet, if you still want to, it is there, and it's episode 10. So I have nearly a dozen episodes that you can check out. If you want to become a paid subscriber, you can find those all at my Substack. That's rachelblevins.substack.com, and on my Patreon, that's patreon.com/rachelblevins. And just know that your support makes my work possible, as I am now fully independent, and I'm also a one-woman band. So all of the research, writing, filming, editing, posting on 10 million different social media platforms, I do all of that, and it takes a lot of work that I am happy to do, grateful that I get to do, but your support truly means the world and makes that work possible. So thank you so much to all of you who have already signed up as paid subscribers. And now let's get into the video. So as we reported on Sunday, you had a number of different mainstream publications across the US, including the New York Times, the Associated Press, and Reuters, all reporting on this, saying that they had talked to their confirmed anonymous sources who said that the Biden administration had decided to remove restrictions on Kiev's use of long-range missiles on Russian territory, even though Russia has repeatedly warned that this is going to lead to World War III because they know exactly how involved a country like the United States is in allowing Kiev to carry out this strikes at every single point of the attack. So come Monday, we're all sitting and waiting to see what the Biden administration is going to say, right? Clearly, there are some anonymous sources within the group that are speaking out and talking to the media, but what are we going to get on record? Well, Biden is traveling. He's been seen by reporters as he's over in Brazil, and he was specifically kept away from reporters, right? His handlers made sure that he wasn't going anywhere near them. So much so that I'm almost wondering if Biden is fully aware of what's happening here, right? I would think that he would be in favor of this decision as it would stand to escalate the war against Russia. It would show that the US was providing more quote unquote support for Ukraine, although not really accomplishing anything on the battlefield. But it does make me wonder just how much Biden is actually aware of things, given how close his handlers are letting him get to reporters right now. Granted, they probably also didn't want another viral video like the one that Biden gave us on Sunday when he visited the Amazon rainforest, gave some remarks on the dangers of climate change, and then appeared to just wander off into the woods. And they really expect us to believe that this man is the one running the United States of America right now. Y'all are killing me. And so is State Department spokesman Matt Miller, as he was supposed to be the one, right, at the daily State Department press briefing. He was supposed to be the one to give us some answers. And yet This is what he had to say today in response to a very important question on this very important topic.
I don't have any policy updates to speak to today.
So he gives us absolutely nothing. And then there was a follow-up question from the reporter who specifically noted Russia's response, the fact that you have Moscow once again doubling down and saying that if the US moves forward with removing these restrictions, then it is adding fuel to the fire on the path to World War III between the US and Russia. I don't know how more clearly Russia can spell this out at this point, and this was Miller's response.
I'm not going to speak to or confirm any policy changes. But when you look at escalation of this conflict, it has been Russia that has escalated the conflict time and time again. And that includes just in the recent month when Russia recruited the deployment of more than 11,000 North Korean soldiers who are now on the front lines in Kursk, engaging in combat operations against the Ukrainian military.
Seriously, Russia is the one escalating things. We would not even be here right now in a full-fledged US-backed proxy war against Russia without, you guessed it, the United States. I swear, I watch these briefings for the sake of being able to relay information to all of y'all, but I have some very choice words for Matt Miller and how he decides to conduct himself, none of which I'm going to include in this video because I know that my dad watches these. But I mean, the fact that Miller is sitting there and he's talking about escalations and acting as if there was not just a major escalation just a few months ago in which Ukrainian troops invaded Russia's sovereign territory and launched an incursion into Russia's Kursk region. Like, he talks about Kursk as if it's just some little island in the middle of nowhere that no one's in charge of, right? Not like it's actual Russian territory. And not as if, by the way, I mean, we don't have confirmation that North Korean troops are actually in Russia's Kursk region fighting alongside Russian soldiers, but he acts as if, like, how dare they be there, right? As if Ukrainian troops just went on a holiday to Kursk and then North Koreans showed up and now that's our problem somehow. And even though we don't have confirmation that there are North Korean forces in Kursk, here in the West, the media and Western officials as well have just repeated it over and over again to the point where they now just accept it as fact. It's like Russia Gate all over again, right? They could just go, oh, well, this is how it is. This is the fact. What's the evidence behind the fact? We never got that. We just repeated it so much that you all just kind of accepted it and thought that surely all of these intelligent, educated people with positions of power, especially here in the US, surely they wouldn't be repeating something so much if they didn't have evidence of it. And there is a long history of things that the US is more than willing to repeat without evidence. But I digress. So the reporter, who I feel bad, I don't know his name, but the one who was questioning Matt Miller, who did an excellent job of questioning Matt Miller, he brought up one of the things that stuck out to me the most, which was that, okay, so what if North Korean troops are in Russia? Russia is a sovereign nation. Are we not going to talk about the Ukrainians and their incursion into Kursk and the fact that that is a significant escalation? And I'm sure you could guess what Matt Miller was about to say.
It is Russia that started this war by invading the sovereign territory of its neighbor. Russia that invaded Ukraine supported proxy war in 2014. And then that launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. The fact that Ukraine is defending the occupation of its territory by launching attacks inside Russia in no way justifies the escalation of this conflict by introducing a foreign army.
Excuse me? Are we really going to go back to 2014 and act as if Russia was the problem? Back in 2014, when it was the US that was literally backing a coup of the democratically elected government in Kiev. Really? And I'm not even going to act like Matt Miller. Maybe he was just, waltzed into politics yesterday. No, he was part of the Obama administration. He knows exactly what they did and what Victoria Nuland did and the legacy that the entire Obama administration have. And yet this is how he chooses to present the information to the public. So while the State Department is trying to rewrite history here, apparently, and the Biden administration as a whole is kind of leaving us in the shadows as to what they did or did not do, we did get a rather interesting comment from the EU's outgoing foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, as he told reporters on Monday that the White House has authorized the use of its weapons with up to 300-kilometer radius into the Russian territories. He also said, quote, "It's not that much in terms of distance. It doesn't go deep into the country, but this is the decision by the Biden administration." He said Biden had said no for a long time, and then they are ending up saying yes. And then he added, "Why have they taken this decision now and not before the presidential elections? I don't know." I think we all know why the Biden administration didn't do this before the elections, but anyways, his comments there are interesting because, as we've seen over the last nearly 3 years now, there have been a number of different things that the Biden administration has said no to and then has later said yes to when it comes to Kiev. I mean, you have Abrams main battle tanks, F-16 fighter jets, long-range missiles in the first place. So if it is the case that we have the Biden administration allowing Kiev to fire ATACMS into Russian territory, my concern still is that it's still going to escalate, as that in and of itself would still be a major escalation. And of course, the US is not the only Western power that is supporting Kiev and looking at escalating tensions, as you now have reports that the UK is planning to support Ukraine with Storm Shadow missiles, which have a range of about 250 kilometers for use by Kiev on targets inside Russia. Now, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is also present at the G20 summit, and he didn't confirm those reports specifically, but he did tell Sky News on Monday that it's time to double down.
I'm not going to get into operational details because Putin is the only winner in that situation. But I've been really clear for a long time now, we need to double down. We need to make sure Ukraine has what is necessary for as long as necessary, because we cannot allow Putin to win this war.
The level of delusion that we have reached in 2024 is off the charts. I mean, can you imagine making comments like this today, nearly 3 years into this conflict, at the current state that the West is in, and just being Keir Starmer? Y'all, the UK has something else. Y'all's prime ministers are the kind that have a level of delusion that, like, I feel like here in the US, we don't even have that. Or, we deliver the lines, or if I say we, those in Washington deliver the lines with some form of like, yeah, okay, we want Kiev to win. And then in the UK, it's like they actually believe it. It is just mind-boggling at the end of the day. But it's not just Keir Starmer. Now, we also have Germany in this equation. And German Chancellor Olaf Scholz is still saying nein when asked about whether Germany will provide Kiev with Taurus long-range missiles. Now, I know that Scholz is already being criticized 6 ways to Sunday for the fact that he even dared to have a phone call with Russian President Putin, their first in nearly 2 years. It is just insane, the world that we're living in right now, where we have the Biden administration refusing to comment on these reports that they are essentially giving the green light to Kiev, to the US as well, for direct war against Russia. I don't know how many more warnings Russia has to make, how more clearly they can put it to the West and really the world as a whole that this is our red line. Do not cross our red line. It is just insanity at the end of the day that we are at this point. But I know that the G20 summit is just getting started, so we will continue to keep an eye on that, and also to see what the Biden administration actually does say and does confirm, right? How much of this is just being put out there with these reports to see how the public responds to it. Will that public backlash cause the US to back down at all, or is the Biden administration determined to, in the final 2 months of its existence, to increase tensions between the US and Russia as much as it possibly can? Because at the end of the day, that's something everyone should be talking about. If anything in this video resonated with you, be sure to like it, share it with your friends, leave a comment, and as always, don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to keep up with all of my work, make sure that you're subscribed to my page on Substack. That's rachelblevins.substack.com. That's where you can find new weekly episodes of my exclusive series for paid subscribers called Sanctioned. You can also check out Sanctioned over on my page on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Rachel Blevins. As always, thank y'all so much for all of your support, and I'll see you next time.